I'm here with election integrity activist John Brakey. John, thank you for being here.
It's my pleasure, it really is.
So you have something pretty incredible to reveal. Some people may have known about it, but I imagine most of our audience will be pretty astonished at what you've found regarding our elections and how we can hold them accountable. But before we even get to that, I want to go back to Arizona 2016. What did you took them to court there, and what did you find was going on in the Arizona? This is primaries, right? The Arizona primary. Why did you go to court?
Well, I had to. First off is that the primary was a disaster. In Maricopa, we had long lines of about 6 hours.
Right.
And
something
so,
like they closed something like 70% of polling places.
More than that. Yeah. Really, we had not had a presidential election on the Democratic side in 8 years. And there used to be 1,043 precincts. And in the last presidential election, where there was 2 Democrats running, because you got to realize in 2012 there was none. Okay. Mm-hmm. And so at that primary, they had something like 600 precincts open. And this one, they only had, I believe, 200. And it was just a huge decline. But it was more than that I took them to court for, because first off, Sanders people became very alarmed. They called into Arizona and they said, who's the best person that we can meet with? Well, they didn't name me, they named my lawyer. And my lawyer said, hey, you don't want me, you want Brakey.
Okay.
And so then I got together with a man they sent in, name of Chris Sauter. He's one of the most premier election attorneys in the country, based out of D.C. Okay. And so we sat together and we worked 4 or 5 days doing analysis of the election, and we found out that somebody was playing inside the election database. That was one thing. There's 3 things going on here, okay?
Yeah.
The second thing is that the results were bizarre, okay? Hillary Clinton wins the vote by mail by 60%.
Right.
Sanders wins the precinct vote by 59%. And then he wins the provisionals by 63%. Which 2 of the 3 are you going to believe?
Yeah.
Okay?
Right.
I mean, let's be realistic. Is that, I'm into numbers. I understand how it works. I've been doing this for 14 years. I canvass all over the country. And usually when you have polling results on a precinct level, they come together like your vote by mail, here's your precinct vote, that they match each other.
Pretty close, yeah.
I mean, I used to get kind of crazy when it was over 6%.
Right.
Okay, all of a sudden I'm finding a 39% split. And by the way, we found this in other states too, because the primary was the highest.
So what was going on with the mail-in vote?
Well, in Arizona, there is no real auditing of the vote by mail. Okay, they do this bizarre, and I was part of helping get a hand count audit law passed in 2006. It's not what we wanted. A real buffoon of a legislator who became Secretary of Education, who really got thrown out at the very end, helped pass this crazy bill, and it left the vote by mail wide open, because when they do an audit, they will maybe take a batch of 200 ballots from 1,000 precincts, and you can add those up. But what are you looking at? It doesn't have any meaning at all. Right. And then, of course, we know, thank you to Volkswagen, when they say, we know the election results are good because we did a logic and accuracy test. Right. It's like saying that we did an emission test and we used Volkswagen to do it.
We used our own scientists. It's like Monsanto scientists.
Yeah, like Volkswagen scientists, because,
Because some people believe that by mailing in their ballot, by doing absentee, they get because it's a paper ballot, it's more likely to be counted, but that's not really the case.
In some states like Alabama and Arizona and others, once that ballot leaves your hands, nobody will ever see it again, okay? And it's just about like having a DRE working, because what's the use of having it if you can't get at it? But that's where we fumbled into this thing was very, very big. The third thing that really, there was 3 things what made me sue, is that 150,000 people were suppressed. And I could see that in the numbers, because the rest of the state was up 9% in voting. Maricopa was down 3%, and if you add the numbers, it was 156,000 people suppressed.
And of course, when you have to wait in line for 6 hours, most people are going to give up. Like
they drive up and pull away.
Yeah, or you go for an hour and you say, well, I tried. That's it.
Exactly.
So how far did that get in the courts?
We went, believe it or not, it was a case that we took them, and we were in court in 10 days. It was a 3-day trial, and at the very end I lost over something really stupid.
Well, that's what they try and do to you, right?
Exactly. They had like 5 to 6 lawyers on us. Okay. They tried to, rationalize the way, because realizes that I was the first guy in the country who claimed that the voter database was hacked, and I brought in a very famous scientist out of Iowa, Professor Doug Jones, one of the best, and we were saying that we know how the database was hacked because they did an injection attack, and they went ahead and started playing around, and this is. Everybody was saying we were crazy. It wasn't true. Then 2 months later, the FBI says, "Oh, the database was hacked." Okay,
right.
And so it was kind of a real interesting scenario. So those 3 things. The reason that ultimately we lost the case, I was in there fighting for more delegates. Okay, in order to win the case, I had to show that Bernie Sanders won the election. I never claimed that. I claimed that he had more votes because it was a delegate race.
Right.
Kind of funny stuff, huh?
That's
so we paid
ridiculous.
$9 million for a real joke election.
That is a ridiculous way to get out of that.
Yeah.
So let's move on to today. Let's just jump into it. You've found something big in terms of our election systems and how we can be counting these votes.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's incredible. Voting is a secret process. Counting is a public process.
Which what you're saying when you say that is when someone votes, they don't want their name to be known with their vote. It's supposed to be private. But the actual counting, once you've removed the name, should be public.
Totally.
Right.
Totally. And so we've already sued in 2 states and won in this. The situation is this. First off, you need to understand the old system of optical scanners. Optical scanners, when we were in school, we took the Iowa test. You filled in a little bubble with a pencil, number 2, and a light came down, and if it didn't bounce back, that was your decision. Left no evidence behind it all, okay? Right. In today's age, our voting system has changed because we finally have gone digital. By the way, we should have went a long time ago, okay? Voting systems are one of the last ones to digitize. Now the situation is this. As a ballot goes into the machine, the one that you filled out or I filled out, it takes a picture of both sides of the ballot. It uses that digital image to count the vote.
So it's an actual image.
An actual image, exact match of the ballot that you filled out. Now the one that you filled out, it's very hard to get to because it's unique. You filled it out, okay? That image, hey, that's a public record.
Right. So
the millisecond it was created.
The systems can then remove the name from the image, and so we can see all of the images.
There never was a name on it.
Oh, there wasn't.
Because it was anonymously put into the box when you put it in there, okay? Except there are some states that are pretty bad, like the state of Washington. I want you to know Bob Gates used to be the defense secretary. Well, he was chairman of the board of every vote going into Washington state for vote by mail. They had your name hidden in a barcode. Pretty bad, huh?
So
they're really data mining us really good, aren't they?
Of course. That's the game. That's they're upset Facebook is stealing your data because they want to steal your data. Well, how dare Facebook do it? No, but so these images are there and they should be publicly accessible. This could be a way we could actually find out whether we had a legitimate vote.
Oh, totally. And I'll say this, is that it's, I take it, once I go into a state, and we know what states we're getting ready to sue next, okay? We go, let's just talk about Pima County, which is my first court case. I found out after they lied to me that they were saving these images, and a good friend of mine who's the chairman of the board of our election.
They said they weren't saving them.
Well, they lied. Yeah. They said they were saving them.
Oh, they said they were saving them.
Yeah,
and
it turned out they weren't. It slipped out. As soon as I knew it slipped out, I went ahead and I sued them, and I got into court. And I think the judge was very profound because the judge said to Pima County, I'm not computer literate, but here's my analogy. If you take a voted ballot, and then you photocopy that voted ballot, and you use the photocopies to count Pima County, what makes you think you can throw it away?
Right.
You can't. It's in the chain of custody. Analogy, okay?
Right.
If I bust you with a pound of pot, and I tag it, and I bag it, and put it in a bag, and then I give it to this person, he gives it to another person, the time it gets to the holding place, there's only an ounce left, and the bag is open. When you go into court, the case is tossed.
And everybody along the way has had a pretty good time.
Maybe, it could be. Hey, you never know.
But right, so chain of custody is a legal requirement.
Yes.
That every step along the way, you know where these things are and that they haven't been tampered with, etc.
Yeah. And you know what? They're destroying them, and they're lying about it. They make believe they don't even exist. okay? In the state of Alabama, we went in there, and it was really kind of, I called over, I knew this was a big election coming, and I was trying to expose these images. Nobody's talking about it. Alabama is 80% ballot imaged. And so I went in there, I did an interview with the election director for the state, and finally he said, we don't have no images, we never turned that feature on, or we disabled it.
Right.
But you know, the reality is, it doesn't work unless it's on, okay? And the trick to destroy these images is there's 3 settings on the machine. It comes with save all. Then there's save write-ins only, and then the last one is to save nothing. And when they hit save nothing, they use the image and then they load it into temporary memory in a file, and at the end of the day when you shut the computer down, it destroys it. Like for example, if you're working in Microsoft Word, you've never saved anything,
right,
and you've worked on it for 4 hours, your computer crashes and you go back and go, holy smokes, where is it?
But so you've kind of got them here because they've got to go into court and say, no, we want to destroy all of this data, right?
Right.
What else can they do? Like,
well, they lie. They say they never turned it on. And, you know, Bob Fitrakis, our good friend, he went in the court in the very beginning and made a good hit on him. But it wasn't, he didn't have an expert with him, because the expert would have said to him, Bob, it doesn't work unless it's on.
so that you,
They
so
went into court and they argued
right,
that
so
they disabled that feature.
But the machines are doing it anyway because
Has
that's
to.
how they're counting the votes.
Right, it cannot. It's optical character recognition.
So where are the court cases stand now? Are you winning them?
Yeah, in Arizona we won, and in Alabama in trial court we won, and then it became very bizarre in Alabama because, you know, this is the race between Moore and Jones, and we went
Roy Moore, yeah.
Oh, Roy Moore, just an incredible character. And by the way, he's on our side now. He wants images saved.
Because he wants a recount?
Yeah. But it was kind of a hilarious, serious case. First off, you know, we go over to Alabama, we're in Montgomery, okay, and then after we filed the case, you know, we got a new lawyer, you know, you need to study all the stuff we put together, the briefs and all that. And then we went to Parks Museum, and then we said, let's go to Selma. And then we went to Selma, and all of a sudden we realized that we were on holy ground fighting the new fight.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
What could be a bigger fight? You know, Jim Crow is still there.
Yeah.
You know, I tell people that we fight election fraud. We got voter suppression, and now we have a new kind of voter suppression, okay? Micro-targeting, psycho-targeting. I mean, I can tell you,
right,
I've been tracking this because Greg Palast turned me on to this in 2005, was tracking Arizona. Mm-hmm. By 2006, we knew that because the GOP had the more advanced one at that time, because all of this came out of the Hack America Vote Act. Oh, I'm sorry, they call it the Help America Vote Act, okay?
Right.
We've always called it the Hack America.
Right.
It was $3.8 billion, and half that money went into voter databases because all of the voter databases across this country were not unified. There's no way you could collect all the data, put it together. So they spent $2 billion building the new data mining system for this country.
But part of this isn't it to put it under the umbrella of the Department of Homeland Security, right? And so now the federal government has control of our voting system, which is a very scary idea when you have, you know,
yes,
Trump putting in his people to run this thing.
Insane.
Which leads me to my next question, which is Tulsi Gabbard has come forward with a bill that is supposed to lead to paper ballots and open source software. Some people have said this, and I'm at least for open source software and that type of thing. So I'm a proponent of that, but some have said that this could be used to just I don't know, further, I guess, put it in the hands of DHS or.
That's my fear.
Yeah.
You know, I'm finding a lot of bad things out here. Okay, a lot of bad things. You know, when I was in Wisconsin, I took 2 teams up there, and I was freaked out at the counties that wouldn't hand count. You know what I found in their machines? Cellular phone modems built into them with the SIM cards.
And they're not supposed to.
My God, the FBI director a couple of weeks before that, what did he say? He said, our election systems are never connected to the internet. Well, I got a real surprise. They were connected to the internet, and those are the counties that refused to do a hand count. And you know, that was my specialty, was to be on those counties. Okay, and I'll never forget going into Milwaukee, and I'm talking to the head guy, and I said to him, it's like 10 o'clock at night, and it's organized chaos, and they're not counting by hand, but they're separating, pulling out, you know, things that didn't balance. You know, you had to make sure that if you had 1,001 voters, you have 1,001 ballots, and if you have 2 extra ballots, you got to find a way to get rid of 2 ballots by doing a lottery pick, and by picking a weak ballot the way that they give them, and then That took the most time. Then you think they would hand count them like money? You know, 1, 5, 10. No, they ran through a machine.
Right, back into the machine, yeah.
And that doesn't tell you nothing.
Even the recount is done through this closed source software, yeah.
Yeah, that does an emission test from Volkswagen.
Right.
Before and after.
So to kind of tie it up here, what would your ideal system be? And let's say ideal in the next couple of years. I suppose
now.
Farther down the road.
Now.
Yeah. How would you like to see it?
Well, I think this is if enough people step up to the table, join our organization. Right now, 50% of the country has this right now, and nobody knows it, okay? The state of Maine is 100%.
This is auditelectionsusa.org.
Auditelectionsusa.org, and my email is johnbrakey@gmail.com. On Facebook is John Roberts Brakey. We have Audit USA on Facebook.
And so you, along with the organization, would demand that these images be public, and therefore anyone could go back and see what our vote was.
What we want is them to load them online by precinct, and then you would be able to download that precinct worth of ballots. We're hoping to have a program built that you take one ballot image and you would fill out your app, and then you could watch your computer counting it. Or you could take your computer at this time, you could plug it into a flat screen TV, and then you have a ballot party. You have 3 other people come over. And let's say you and me are a team and we're counting for Hillary Clinton, okay? And we do 25 ballots at a time. You can do that in less than a minute. And then we look at each other and say, oh, I got 10. What did you get? 10. Okay, the other team, what did you get? Then we move on. The next thing you know, you do 800 ballots. What are we trying to do? We're trying to take away the impunity of a hacker, okay? They only steal. Listen, I was on the Fraction Magic team, okay? I was with Benny Smith and Bev Harris of Black Box Voting.
So explain to people that don't know what Fraction Magic is.
Fraction Magic is a way that works on a precinct level that we can go ahead. First off, you think you got a whole vote? You don't got a whole vote. It's fractionalized.
Right.
Because
so
you need to make it match.
When they do see some of the source code that they try and keep secret, each vote is 1.0, which shouldn't exist. It should just be 1 and 0. So the idea that even you ever see 1.0 is laughable.
Yeah, and you won't, because it's an app that slaps right into the Diebold system. And by the way, you know all these voting companies have STDs, don't you?
What's that stand for?
What do you think it does? I know what you think. It's software transmitted disease. One time or another, all these voting companies have been in bed with each other.
So
it's an incredible story.
When you use the touchscreen, put a condom on your finger. Is that what you should do?
You know, that might not be, yeah.
But hold on,
Here's the comedian.
I don't want to get lost here. To go back to Fraction Magic, the idea is that if someone in the software, someone had gotten in, made the software, so let's say a Bernie Sanders vote was 0.9 and a Hillary was 1.1.
That's right.
Slowly the differences would compound so that you slowly end up.
But they do it on a precinct level. They know their demographics. They know how the history of the precinct, and they know where they can get away with it with impunity. And they don't do it everywhere because it depends upon the audits that they have. And they'll find that niche, and that's my job as an investigator, is to look at the total procedures of the elections, how the hand count could work, what the rights are. And usually I come down to one thing, is that all it takes is one insider and a elections director who believes that what he was taught. And a lot of these big city election directors are taught that a good elections administrator is an administrator who knows how to hide all the warts. What are they raising? Sociopaths? I mean, if I did that with my kids, what am I teaching them?
Right, yeah, the warts of not having a legitimate republic.
Yeah.
All right, so it is auditelectionsusa.org. Thank you so much, John, for joining me.
Well, thank you very much, because it really is an important subject. Because right now, if this omnibus bill goes through, okay, maybe we could be at 70 to 80% this election. I will be filing probably lawsuits in Ohio, where I have actions in Virginia, Massachusetts, their Secretary of State is destroying, Rhode Island, we're not done checking them yet. I want to say great things about Maryland and what they're doing. They've recognized all of this, and they're a model for other people to follow. And the state of Maine, my home state's a great state, and they're doing it right too, and I'm very proud to say
that. So that's part of the important message too, is people need to get active on their local and state level, because some states are doing it right and some aren't. So.
Yeah, and we want to help you understand how it works. You know, for me, it took bringing in a geek to help me understand the Greek language of our election system.
Right.
And we got it broken down that we can teach you how it works. And we got verified voting to be able to help out. Now what we need is people who know how to use the Mandamus Act, which is a simple act. You file a suit, you're in court right away, and you say, Your Honor, could you order these people to follow the law?
Right.
Pretty complex case, huh?
Right.
Because they can't destroy.
Yeah.
Isn't that beauty?
Yeah.
That's how we're going to change it. Because sometimes to change something, you know, it's awful hard to change the old model that's set in, but there's a new model there, and they're hiding it. And we're going to work on changing it. People like you for having me on, and for all the great work that you've done in elections. I really admire you being brave enough to come out and really tell the American people what's going on. And so, hey,
well, thank you.
You're a brother.
Let's
from a
get these
different mother.
motherfuckers.
Yeah, right on,
let's
dude.
have a
Right
look
on,
at
right on.